Before I get started, I just need to ask real quick, anybody in here remember in the 5th grade when Rashida told me I had no neck? Y'all remember that? I think about it every day, every single day. My life is an anomaly. I feel like it's a glitch in the matrix. I was born on the February 14th to a Robert and Roberta. We're all adults in here, so we know that the science behind it takes 9 months for a mistake to marinate. And you would think after all that time that Robert and Roberta wouldn't have just named me Robert. Now, there's nice, kind people here. You may not see this in my face, but I'll tell you, I was born to extremely black parents. My parents were so black, by the time I was born, the electric bill was already in my name. My mama, she's from Trinidad and Tobago. My dad, just a dancer from DC. Not professionally, just a dude that wore sequins and bell bottoms and battled other men for his honor. So that makes me the hardest working person you ever met, or the sassiest. I will say, my dad did the best that he could. He was a really good dad. He was a fixer. I don't know if anybody had a fixer in here, but he never had the right tools. Never saw a pair of directions he didn't want to ignore. We had a coffee table with a lean that just meant it had character. I will say, I don't like to tell people I had a tough childhood. What I like to say is I had a rough 5th grade. It was bad for me in the 5th grade because I didn't have a neck. And I was bad at math. I was a really bad math student. I was so bad at math that my dad, being the fixer he was, would ask me the equation 3 times before he got frustrated and answered it himself. This went on for an entire semester, until my report card came back with a D- in math, and that is when we learned that my father indeed was not smarter than a 5th grader. My mom, she's very tough immigrant woman. For some reason, when you have an immigrant mom, sometimes when they say I love you, it sounds a lot like, why are you not a different person? She was very tough, man. She was 3-0 against my daddy, undefeated, beat the brakes off my dad. She beat my dad so bad that he converted to white women. Actually, one time I watched my mom deliver the people's elbow from a granite countertop. She told me that's privilege, and I'll tell you that I'm short, loud, and anxious around strong women, making me the Black George Costanza. My dad would later move on to marry this thin-lipped white devil with a long back. Back so long when she sat down, it kind of looked like she was standing up. Y'all know the type. Anyway, all the kids around the way at school would always ask, hey, Rob, what's it like growing up with a white stepmom at home? And I would tell them that the sugar to Kool-Aid ratio in my household was as instructed. You have to understand, I think for me, the hardest part about this new stepmom, that it was a culture shock for me, all right? I had an immigrant mom with 11 herbs and spices. And then I became the only family on the block to have a fully stocked expired spice rack in their house. It's very, very tough. There were some good things. This new white stepmom of mine would have music playing in the house all the time. She loved a lot of music. She'd have these bulletin board goofy sayings, things like, dance like no one's watching. And I would say, hey, Elizabeth, everybody's watching when you're off beat, you understand? Something that always kept me perplexed is that she didn't mind keeping her kids on leashes, but would fight the neighbors to keep the dog off of one. Anyway, speaking of leashes, the last name Smallwood is really holding me back from being the alpha that I want to be in my life. Didn't know much about my last name growing up. I didn't know anything at all. So I went on this date with this very beautiful Indian woman who told me her last name. From her last name, she told me what village she was from, their imports and exports, what doctorate degree her parents wanted her to get. And I got sad, because I'll never know what that's like. You'll never be able to say my last name and tell me where I'm from. Why? Slavery! And I said that to her, and she was like, oh my God, I completely understand. You know, white people, they came to our country, colonized us, and stole our spices. And I said, that's a damn shame, because they didn't use them. They did not use with those spices.